when you're thinking about being the bank and you want to do what a bank does, there's a couple things that you must know. Banks lend on all different amounts of money. Okay. A bank will lend you $1,000, $5,000, $500. They'll lend any denomination up to tens of millions of dollars if you qualify. So if you are going to take over the banking functions in your life and you're going to be the bank, why would it be any different for you? So people ask all the time, what's the minimum? Well, the minimum is, what do you got? How much money do you got to lend? How much money do you have to actually become your own bank? And don't think that you don't have enough. A lot of people are like, oh, I need millions. Oh, I need hundreds of thousands. No, you do not, because it's never, I want you to listen to this very closely. It's never about your actual resources. Folks, it's about how resourceful you can be. And if you're always worried about how much money you've got and whether or not it's enough, you're thinking about the wrong things. Let's get resourceful, folks, and let's figure out how can we mimic what a bank does. Because what does a bank do? You all know what a bank does. A bank has trained us to work for money. And then what does the bank do? The bank comes in and takes our hard-earned dollars, and what we do is we give up control of it to the bank. Do we not? We deposit that money in a bank account, and the bank account pays us either 0 or maybe 1%, and they loan that money out. And if you look today at mortgages are over 7%. For a 30-year fixed mortgage as of October 22nd, 2022, mortgages are over 7%. And climbing north. So banks pay you 1%, let's just say, and I know many of you are not even getting 1%. I'm not going to get into that today as to why banks aren't increasing the amount you're earning on your deposits, but yet they're increasing what they charge you for the loans when they give you your money back. So we're not going to cover that, but the bank makes a spread. If mortgages are 7% and the bank's paying you 1%, the bank is making a 6% spread. No matter how we run that spread, that means that banks are making 400 to 1,300% more than you are on your deposits, because the bank takes your money that you gave up control of and lends that money out and makes that money go to work for them. This is what banks do. But since you want to be your own bank, you can take back those banking functions. But you know what? I got to take us back to the beginning. So the minimum, let's just call the minimum 20 grand. Okay. In order to lend money to be effective on our platform called privatemoneyclub.com, in order to be effective, 20 grand's a good starting place. So if you don't have 20 grand, I'm not saying you can't be your own bank, but maybe we should start somewhere else other than private lending. Okay. Because there's other places you can use smaller denominations to go out there and make more money. But one of the things I always ask people is I say, stop focusing on how much money you have, and let's focus on what that money can actually do for you. Now, have any of you ever really sat down and thought about that? If you got 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, $1 million, do you know what that means to you? Do you know how much income that could provide? Do you know what a monthly check would be if you became the bank back to you? So in other words, if you became the bank, and you took your 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, $1 million, whatever it is you have, and you loaned that money out, just like a bank does. If you did what a bank does, what would that mean? What would that change in your life? Well, that's what I want to do right now. I want to show you something. Let's go to a calculator and actually let's just focus on what that means, because this is something many people don't understand, because they don't understand how their money looks when it's working for them. All you know how to do is you know how to go out and trade an hour for whatever denomination you get paid for that hour. You trade time for dollars, because somewhere in your life, you've been taught to believe that that's how money works, that the only thing you should do is go out and trade your precious and limited time for dollars. And you'll be led to believe that that's exactly what you should do for the rest of your life, that trading hours for dollars is the only way, but it is not. You see, the lesson I want you to understand is it's not about trading your hours for dollars, although that's important in the beginning. It's about what your money can do for you when your money goes to work for you instead of for the banks or instead of for Wall Street. You see, you got to stop taking your money and giving up control and just learn a couple simple things on how your money can work for you instead of working for someone else. It'd be like having an employee. You own a business and you hire an employee that you're going to pay. Okay. But yet that employee works for one of your competitors and you continue to keep paying them. That's the same thing. Think about that. When your money goes in a bank account, or when your money goes in some aspects of Wall Street, your money's working for Wall Street or that Wall Street firm or that fund or that hedge fund or whatever you're in, or your money works for that bank where you made the deposit. It's no different. You hired that employee, meaning you traded hours for that employee, okay? And you paid that employee, but that employee is now trading their hours for someone else. And let's just make it your competitor. It's no different, folks. So what I want to do here real quick is I want to show you something that I think will bring some light to exactly what we are talking about. So bear with me one second. I want to pull this up on the screen and I want you to be able to see what we're talking about here. All right. Fair enough. Great. Let me just get it up. Perfect. Share screen. There it is. All right. Share sound. Perfect. All right. So right here, folks, if you're looking at the same screen I am, you're seeing what we call Private Money Club. Okay. So this is our platform. This is our dating site for money, if you will, where you can go in and you can be a lender right here, or you can be a borrower. Okay. So you can get funded for your deals that you have, or you can look at deals to lend on, just like all of these deals. All these are actual deals that you can lend money on. And if I refresh this, since this hasn't been refreshed, you can see here's a bunch more deals that just got done. But right there, something pops up. An interest calculator pops up. Okay. So this is what we're going to use. This is where we're going to show you how to make your money go to work for you and what that actually means. But I need you to think about, what does your money do for you when you earn it? Do you pay for a car? Do you have credit card payments? Do you have monthly expenses to live? Food, groceries, diapers? Of course you do. So what we're going to do is we want to see how much money you have to have that working for you in order to solve some of those problems. So let's go back and let's look at this, okay? So here we go. We've got this interest calculator that we're staring at right here. All right. So the interest calculator has a different investment range or interest range. So whatever interest rate you think you're going to earn. So right now, I will tell you, let's just look at 10%. And I don't know how much money you have, but let's just do 25 grand. And let's say you wanted to lend that money out for a period of 12 years. So right here, if you hit calculate, that means that $208.33 would be the interest only payment made back to you. That is, if your money, your 25 grand were to go out and earn 10%. But what if your money went out and earned 12%? Well, that same amount of money would earn you $250. And we could go anywhere amount. Okay. So a lot of people, maybe you got 100 grand in equity sitting in your house, and maybe you want to lend that money out at 12%. And we could go through all these different deals. So we could look at these deals right here, the Blue Ridge deal. We could look at the County Moan deal, and we can look at what these deals pay. But let's just look at the calculator just for a couple more seconds. And I've got to slide this up just so you can see it, because I don't have this expanded enough. All right. So we got 100 grand for 12 months earning 12%. That's going to give you $1,000 a month. Now, let me ask you, do you have $100,000 sitting in a bank account? Do you have $100,000 sitting in an investment account at a brokerage firm? Do you have $100,000 sitting lazy on your couch, watching your TV and eating your Fritos and drinking your soda? And what do I mean by that lazy money sitting on your couch? Well, I mean the equity in your house. Do you have equity in your house totaling 100 grand? Because I bet you a lot of you do. And I bet you a lot of you have that equity and you're not even using it. You haven't even tapped into it. You've just let it sit on the couch. Now, how much would it cost you to borrow that money out of your house? It's called a home equity line of credit. Well, probably 6%, maybe even 7%. So what we need to do is focus on what a bank focuses on, a spread. If your money costs you 6% to use that lazy equity sitting in your house, if it costs you 6%, but you can lend it out on any of the deals we're going to look at in a second at 12%, what are you making? Oh, you're making a spread. And if it was 6% and you make 12%, you're making a 6% spread. And if interest rates go up on your line of credit, no big deal. Now you're, instead of making 6%, you might be making 5% or 4%, but that's money you don't have today. But you see, that's $1,000. And if your money were to cost you, let's just say 8%, Let's say your cost was 8, which is probably not. Well, that's a bad number, but let's just say it's $667 that your money is it's going to cost you. But if you lend it out at 12%, you're making the spread from $667 to $1,000. You guys can do the math. Is that enough to pay for your car payment? Would that pay your college tuition? Would that pay those credit cards? Would that pay the grocery bill? Maybe not. But you know what? It doesn't matter. It's $1,000 you're not making today. Now, let's go in and just look at a couple deals. How much are some of the deals on Private Money Club paying? Right here, you got 15% interest on this. Is that a first or second position? Well, if I wanted to know that, I would just go into this deal right here, and I would click on that deal. Why it's not coming up is probably because I'm sharing this. So let's look at this deal. Okay. Another quick flip opportunity. So this is a house that he's looking to raise some money on. I did look at this one, 15% interest with 3 points paid. That means if you've got 100 grand, this particular individual right here, Bobby, is going to write you a check for $3,000 at closing, plus pay you interest at 15%. Now, the calculator we just looked at only goes to 12, but we could run it by 15 and you could get the drift. It's more than $1,000. So he needs 130, willing to pay 15% and 3 points for this. And we could go in and we could look at all the descriptions right here. You got everything sitting here. We could look at the financials. 130 needs 60 grand in repairs. After repair value is 163. So he's raising 130 when the house has an after repair value of 163. We could double check that number and we could look deeper at the property. Here's some of the specifics about the property. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,020 square foot. We could even come down here and we could look at this. And we could just go back into this deal right here and we could steal this address. So let's go back up and look at the address here real quick. All right, come back up here. Where was that address? Right there, 83. All right, I don't know what town that is, but let's just copy that and come over here and see if we can get the full address. Highway. So one thing we'd need to know is what township this is in, which we don't have right now. But anyway, let's come over here and let's go to this one. So folks, all we're doing right now is we're using Private Money Club. And in using Private Money Club, all we're trying to do is analyze a deal so that we can become the bank. And there's software in there called House Folios, which we're going to look at right now. So let's go here. We just clicked on the House Folios software tab, and we can come in here and we can basically add a property. Single address. And let's just see, I don't know where this is, but let's just see if it'll pull up. Could be East York, Ontario, could be Amherst, could be South Carolina. That actually probably is where it is, South Carolina. So let's search for that particular deal. All right. So is this the property? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's analyze that particular property. And if it pulls up photos, we'll be able to see what it is. That probably is not the property. So we'd have to go back and we'd have to just look at and see where that actually is. So here we go. We know it's not Ontario. So, well, maybe it is East Amherst. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's analyze that one. Analyze the property. So one thing we might need to find out, because we're not getting a good feed on this, is one thing we'd have to find out is where is that particular property? Like what location does that property reside in? But the whole point that I'm trying to make is this property will pay you 15% interest. You can see right there from the screen. And that property then could potentially give you, a decent return on your money and a decent spread if you were. So let's see, I'm still trying to figure out where in the world this is. Highway, Saluda County. So that was the South Carolina property. All right. So, and here we go. We got an appraisal. So this is probably pretty good to look at. Let's pull up the appraisal on this particular property. So hopefully you guys can see this, because if we wanted to see how much this house was worth, we could just come in. He's got it under contract for 70 grand, which is a good price. So we've got a lot of data here. We can see how much houses are worth if we go in, and we can see what they've sold for based on the appraisal report, 149, 159, 212. We could actually go in and analyze all of those different properties and see what they're worth. But you see, this is good because this means this particular borrower actually pulled an appraisal, spent the money to figure out what this would be worth. Here's all your comps. So you can see now what we're doing is we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we know how that property works. But what the whole point of this little exercise I did there is just to show you that your money that you have sitting lazy in those rafters of your house, that money that's sitting lazy at someone else's bank where they're making the spread, not you, you could become the bank. And I don't care if you got 20 grand, 50 grand, $200 million. It doesn't matter how much you have, because the minimum to be the bank is whatever dollar amount you want. Now, the answer cannot be zero. And I would even say anything less than 20 grand just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. But hopefully that gives you something to really think about. I don't want you to think about how much money you have in the bank. I don't want you to think about how much money you got sitting in a brokerage account or how much money you got sitting. I want you to know how much that money can make you per month, because that's how we live life, is it not? We live life on a budget. We live life monthly. Our mortgage payments, our rent payments, our car payments, our credit card payments, our grocery bills, everything that we do in today's society is broken down to a monthly payment in most cases. So you all have a monthly budget. You know how much you bring in a month? Hopefully, gosh, I hope you know this, because if not, go back to one of my other podcasts where we talk about budgeting and focus on that. So once you know what your budget is, how much it costs you to live every month, and then you know how much you bring in every month, net of taxes and all your benefit payments, now you know how much money you have left over every month to save. And you should know how much money's in the bank, and whatever money's in the bank, keep at least 3 to 6 months for an emergency fund, so that if you lose your job, you can afford 3 to 6 months of your budgeted monthly expenses, and that would give it to you. So folks, start thinking about how much your money working for you earns you on a monthly basis, because that's what's going to change things. The money you have sitting lazy in the bank, lazy in the rafters of your house, lazy in a brokerage account, which is probably losing a lot right now, could be paying you an interest payment, because if you became the bank, it could be paying you an interest payment that would pay for that car payment. It might even pay for both car payments. Heck, it might pay for both car payments and groceries. I don't know how much money you have, but you do. But you don't know what I do. And what I know is how much that money could be earning you in Private Money Club if it were working for you, just like the bank is making your money work for them. This should wake you up a little bit. This should get you thinking about what it means to become your own bank.